Welcome to a TRE session. Here getting into it, and what's happening is the shoulders are starting. They started on their own because I've been putting a lot of attention into my shoulders recently, which is a bit of a more advanced move to target certain areas. So I'm putting it here to show you, and hopefully it's educational and entertaining. However, if you're in your first 6 months or so of TRE, I would really recommend to do a general surrender approach. So, entering into the body and letting the tremors show up wherever they show up, because the body's intelligence and the tremoring intelligence will guide the tremors into the areas that are most ready to unwind. And there's a sort of order that the body likes to take things in. There's a general trend, but then there's also a specific trend unique to you and your history. So if you start targeting areas with your attention, start bringing your attention to certain areas and then noticing, the tremors go here, I'm going to put my attention here for the next 10 sessions, for example. Well, you might successfully open up that area and get a lot of tremoring there. But if it's a bit out of order, so to speak, then you can get wonky effects. Like if you open up your head and neck too fast, you can get lots of headaches, earaches, maybe vertigo, maybe tinnitus. And there's probably less risk at targeting other areas first. But ultimately, this is a long game. This is a full, the average length of time is 6 to 8 years to fully de-traumatize the whole system, to fully unwind all the tension stored from the past, generationally, which is absolutely miraculous that it's even possible to do that, and that we have a simple practice that can do that. And yeah, because I recommend being in it for the long haul, then every area that has tension is going to get addressed, and we can just relax. We don't need to do anything, and that might be challenging. And this is actually a good opportunity to learn a very valuable ability, which is just surrendering. And that can be applied elsewhere in life too, as we learn it. So here, more stuff happening with the shoulders still. So for me, that's my upper back, mid back, so the scapular muscles, and then the deltoids too. And occasionally you'll see my chest going up, and occasionally I'll do a side to side wiggle. So again, targeting certain areas is a more advanced move, which is what I'm doing here. And a general surrender approach is what I did follow for most of my time in the first 5 to 6 months of my practice. And that worked out really well, and that was a lot. That was enough. I didn't need to do anything else, because there was a lot of times that I was very sensitive afterward. There was a lot of times that I had a lot of challenge. And if you've been stuck at a certain area of your body for a long time, and you've been diligent with your practice, consistent, and it's been months, and for example, your tremors haven't moved, and they've always been in your legs, and they haven't moved at all into your hips, haven't moved at all into your low back, for example. That's a situation where I think you could apply your attention just beyond the point where you're tremoring. Not try to apply it somewhere totally different, like your neck or something, or your shoulders, or even your arms, but just bridging the area that's already tremoring with the area that you haven't ever tremored in. That can be an appropriate use in that situation where you're stuck. And a little trend to be aware of is that the more parts of your body that are tremoring, the more impactful in your nervous system that it is. So the less total time you should be doing, generally speaking, in that session. And perhaps you might need more recovery time in those situations. In a situation like this, where I'm tremoring very minimally, it's pretty focused to certain parts of my body. Here you see my chest coming up more. This is a kind of new. This is loosening kind of my pecs, my intercostals, my sternum diaphragm area. So I can do quite a long time of this. This session was 27 minutes total. And I am not suffering any overdoing effects. It's not too hard on my nervous system. Whereas if it was more parts of my body tremoring for 27 minutes, that would be a lot more for me. That'd be a lot more of a load on the nervous system. Here, more of the diaphragm, a lot of neck stuff happening here. Yeah, a lot of neck, upper back opening up. And I'll just remind everyone that TRE is not a short-term relaxation process per se, although it certainly can have that effect for many people at much of the time. But what it really is a trauma release process. It's a stored past trauma release process. And it's a long-term approach to releasing all that tension. And when I say trauma, I'm referring to physical tension that we carry from events that happen to us. No emotional trauma ever occurs without physical trauma and physical tension. So we're undoing that deep root layer of physical tension. Yeah, my diaphragm, I'm seeing that moving a lot. Continuing with the neck movements. And the speed is very high, so it's herky-jerky. You can slow it down if you like. Get a more realistic view. So for some people who are very dysregulated, whether chronically or just temporarily dysregulated, trying TRE for the first time when they don't already have experience is risky, because TRE is a long-term process. There are other vagus nerve specific exercises or much gentler stuff, therapies, maybe EMDR, for example, somatic experiencing, for example, very good one, that are more appropriate for really getting a bit more regulated to where you can eventually, or any person can eventually, do the TRE trauma release work. Because you do have the possibility of getting temporarily dysregulated with TRE, that is for sure. And someone who's already dysregulated might have a longer dysregulation happen from doing TRE, a bit too long for their system. And of course, it's always best to work with a provider, especially in the beginning, primarily in the beginning for this reason. Okay, and I am just resting and integrating, wishing you all really well in your practice, and see you next time.